new case.
What's the case about?
So, what are they charging the government for?
They're charging the government for indirectly causing the death of their daughter under negligence, as they think that the government fails to regulate the manufacturer on food additive labeling for exported food and to monitor and improve the air quality in Hong Kong.
Oh, really? The Sophia's parents have to fulfill 3 elements of negligence to sue the Hong Kong government successfully, including duty of care, breach of duty, and chain of causation. Should we think about what they challenge us?
Okay.
Shall we sue the Hong Kong government? Hong Kong has a high level of SO2 as suggested by the Environment Protection Department. The Hong Kong government should know that a high level of air pollution index can increase the probability of the asthma attack.
Yeah, the government is very proximate to us, so it does have the responsibility of taking care of our health by providing a nicer living environment. Duty of care exists. Remember what we learned in Bo's lecture at university?
Yeah. The Hong Kong government should also didn't adequate, effective environmental law to protect public health. We should use the reasonable man test to see whether the government is a reasonable man to keep the air pollution to the minimum.
Yes, I've done some research. You see here. Other countries like Japan have done relatively well in environmental protection.
Oh yeah, you see here, the Japan adopts the National Action Plan of Agenda 21 to limit the SO2 level to 2 ppb, while the concentration of SO2 in Hong Kong is almost 20 ppb. So the Hong Kong government does not do enough to breach, so there's the breach of duty.
According to our solicitor, we can apply the but-for test to establish the factual causation of our air pollution argument. If the government hasn't breached the duty, Sophia wouldn't die. This is the statement. Can't you remember that Sophia didn't show any symptoms in Thailand?
But a few days after we returned to Hong Kong, she was sad. I strongly think that our girl really suffered from the asthma in a very high level of air pollution, which finally caused her death.
Look at this medical report, you see. Sophia's death may also be caused by SO2 applied to the dry apricots. You see here? I'm hungry, I want to take some.
No! Stop it.
Oh, never mind. I can't see any labeling of food additives applied on the package. Food manufacturers are requested by law to label any preservatives during packaging to the local market. It proves that the side effects, possibly fatal, brought by the ingestion of SO2 are reasonably foreseeable by the government. Otherwise, it would not set a law concerning the labeling of food composition.
True. Again, the Hong Kong government is the only legislative authority to monitor food manufacturer to protect the consumer, so it should be liable for the failure of setting the appropriate registration to prevent any possible harm to the consumers. So the government has the duty of care to setting the export regulation concerning about the food labeling.
Yeah. Then, once the duty of care has been established, it must be shown that the duty has been breached. Suggested by our solicitor, the objective test whether the behavior submitted by the government fell below the threshold of a reasonable person.
There are regulations in the usage of food additive in Hong Kong. Under Chapter 132 BD, Public Health and Municipal Service Ordinance, the use of SO2 only allowed as long as it doesn't exceed the maximum permitted level. For dry apricot, that one, it should be within 2000 ppm. So, never mind. Only the food sold within Hong Kong territories is subjected to this ordinance. However, in Section 7, the food regulation of the food additive usage and labeling do not apply to the export or re-export products.
Obviously, the Hong Kong government can try its best to impose more regulations on food labeling. EU and Hong Kong government are comparable. They both have established well-rounded legal system in protecting consumers' health. EU has imposed strict regulations on food labeling, inclusive of domestic consumption and export. Hong Kong government should not have omitted the regulations on food additives for exported food. And therefore, the Hong Kong government has breached the duty.
The factual causation can be established by doing the but-for test as well. If the Hong Kong government has imposed regulation on export food labeling and enforced the rule effectively, the label on dry apricot can be served as a warning to our daughter Sophia, and her death can be preventable. Even if Sophia didn't suffer from the asthma attack and die, it is foreseeable that someone else from Hong Kong or Thailand with respiration diseases may suffer from the same consequences as well. So I think the chain of causation is existed.
In order to destroy their arguments, we have to prove that at least one element contributing to negligence is not satisfied, including the duty of care, breach of duty, and the chain of causation.
Yes, the principle of the reasonable foreseeability is one of our concerns in duty of care. It is concerned with the length of the chain in question. Here, we can investigate a chain. First of all, Sophia may be born with asthma. Even when asthma isn't diagnosed inborn, air pollution can contribute to a long-term damage to a poor health.
Really? Well, I found a case here.
Originally, they had an enjoyable family and led a nice life. Unfortunately, X was accidentally killed by Lam. Before the accident, the victim's mother was held responsible to look after the grandson. However, suffering from depression after the accident, she was unable to do so. X's wife decided to quit her job and be a full-time housewife to take care of her son. X's wife then sued Lam to claim damages for her loss of earnings.
It was held that the plaintiff's depression caused by his son's death was insufficiently foreseeable to be the subject matter of a claim. Likewise, Hong Kong government is not vicariously liable for her death. The plaintiff's depression was not held to be due to Lam because her depression may be a chronic mental disease or even inborn. Just like Sophia, her asthma could be caused by a long-term fetter or inborn, and air pollution is not the sole factor causing her death. And the reason for the death due to asthma may be traced back to many other causes.
Yes, the case can really help us. I think now duty of care is invalid because the chain is too long. The death is not reasonably foreseeable. It means that whether there is a breach of duty or causation is no longer relevant. So, negligence is therefore not contributed.
Alright, don't you guys think that their export regulation arguments suck?
Admittedly, the government can reasonably foresee a certain portion of citizens may succumb to the defects of lack of export regulation and labeling. The foreseeable risk could have been avoided if the government has done more. Even the consequence is foreseeable. It's unfair, unjust, and unreasonable to impose a liability for the government. Over the globe, few governments will set regulations regarding food exports, as every country has their own regulations. There is no need for Hong Kong government to set export rules. Otherwise, there may be a standard conflict between the importer and exporter.
Exactly. The duty is shifted to the Thai government. It is the Thai government's duty to set regulation on the imported food and make sure every consumer buying food in Thailand is protected. In addition, the Hong Kong Centre of Food Safety, that's the CFS, has already issued guidelines regarding the intake of food. The Hong Kong government has paid all possible efforts.
So, let's look at the top.